You might remember this.
Yeah, I have to inform you that you may be arrested for this offence, and I would ask you to think about how that can affect you and your family and friends and anything you wish to do in the future. Are you willing to move? Is there anything I can reasonably say or do to get you to move? I have to inform you that reasonable force may be used to move you from your current location. Anybody willing to move?
This was a police officer warning protesters who were blocking access to a proposed site for fracking at Kirkby Misperton near Pickering. Now, that was a few years ago and was one of many demonstrations which went on for months as the company Third Energy made preparations to frack for shale gas. We spoke about it many, many times on the show. Now, as we know, it never happened. And later the government announced a ban on fracking, for the moment at least, because of concerns about earth tremors. So what now? Well, fracking hasn't gone away, and there's currently a government review into its impact. But one thing is for sure, if the fracking ban is lifted, Third Energy won't be involved, and the well that it was going to frack will now be used for something completely different. As Mike Kemp's finding out for us this morning, he's at the Third Energy site at Kirkby Misperton, near Pickering. Morning, Mike.
Yes, good morning from the well known as KM8, right next to it here. Once the focus of anti-fracking protests, but now it's one where Third Energy is looking to pioneer the use of geothermal energy. And that's because the company has undergone a dramatic transformation.
My name's Sean Zablotsky. I'm the Operations Director for Third Energy.
My name's Steve Mason. I'm a Director at Third Energy now, and I am also still Director of Frack Free United.
This is Third Energy today. Two men who were on opposite sides of the fracking controversy now working together.
I look at Sean here and go, this was completely unexpected, wasn't it, Sean?
Very much so.
But extremely positive.
Because Third Energy is looking to a new future.
Turbine now, so the same big thing that's gone, so it's all fully ripped out and gone.
Where once they had a gas plant here, near the railway line at Knapton near Malton, the company is now looking to develop an energy park, pioneering different green and renewable technologies.
It's a big change, I mean, from all the sort of issues and the high-profile nature of what we were doing with the protests and the social uproar really with it all. And to go to that, to something which, is a lot more widely approved and looked upon a lot more favourably. It's a big change for the company. It's a welcome one.
What is the potential here?
Potential future here is to turn this company into a long-term profitable company, which I think will be the first time for quite a while, and to offer Rydale a beacon of renewable hope, I suppose. We're looking at hopefully in the future, looking at green training. We're looking at using it as an example for colleges and people like that to come and have a look and see what the difference is. It's not just about flipping the company into making money. There's more of a mission here.
You'll be sort of almost cutting edge and experimental as well.
Yeah, and I think it's something that will be great for North Yorkshire and this region. We'll be very cutting edge, and that's what we want.
I'll be honest, the community here in Rydale is very much at ease with it at the moment as well. It's been a real healing process, I think, for staff here as well as some of the community people as well, particularly in Kirkby Misperton and around there, and you can feel the community coming back together again.
But what about fracking? Third Energy won't be involved, but do the two men, once at the heart of the issue here in North Yorkshire, ever see it going ahead?
For me, why would it in terms of the timescales? The government's reviewing it now, so that's not going to be a short process because it'll have to go through full due diligence. Then you're going to go through planning, permitting, then you've got to prep it, you've got to do it, you've got to build the sites, everything like this. Then you've got to also have the export capabilities to actually provide that gas to either the grid or convert it to power. And the time frames you're talking about, that it's not a short scale of time. Why wouldn't you just go with renewable technologies?
Even if this wasn't happening, I think that ship has completely sailed.
It's so interesting, isn't it? That's Sean Zablotsky and Steve Mason speaking to BBC Radio York's Mike Kemp. So that is what's happened to Third Energy. But what's happening at Kirkby Misperton, Mike, which had been earmarked for fracking?
Yes, well, I'm standing next to the well known as KM8. A metal Christmas tree of valves is fixed on top of the well, which goes down something like 10,000 feet. Now, this was the well where fracking was once planned, but never went ahead. Now the plan is to use it for something completely different: geothermal energy. Well, with me is Mike Potter, a Rydal District Councillor and a champion for climate change. Quite a turnaround here, isn't it?
It certainly is. Morning, Mike. It's quite ironic that probably about 5 or 6 years ago I was literally on the other side of the fence trying to oppose fracking, and I think it's just brilliant that Third Energy have, I think you could say, woken up and smelt the coffee.
So quite a turnaround. Geothermal energy, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's certainly a new thing in this country, but it's been proven quite substantially in other places such as Iceland. And I mean, I think we're at the dog end of the fossil fuel era. And although it's created a lot of wealth for a lot of people, including the general population, we're now getting to the point where we're getting the pushback from that. We're getting the climate change, we're getting the costs. The costs are soaring as it gets scarcer, and we've really got to look seriously at every form of renewable energy, and geothermal is a very exciting prospect, because if you drill a hole, well, we've already got the holes, and if you go far enough down, it's hot down there, and heat is exactly the sort of thing that we need.
And that'll be used for businesses and others in the community, won't it?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the hopeful thing. I mean, it's perhaps a little bit difficult because you've got to bring the industry or the homes near to the heat. But that's the whole point of Pickering Well site. It's very close to Pickering itself. And hopefully we can find a realistic use for this heat. But literally everything has got to be investigated and used, because people will say, well, what happens when the sun don't shine and the wind don't blow? Well, it's always hot down there, but then again, the tides always come in and the waves are always rolling, and the water's always flowing in rivers. Why aren't we using all of that?
How do you think it will be received here in the community, these new plans?
Well, quite clearly there'll be pockets of opposition, because there are always people keen to keep using fossil fuels for whatever reason, usually financial reasons. But it's got to be seen as a positive thing, because so many people are concerned now about climate change, air pollution, plastic pollution, all the things that come with fossil fuel. But most keenly at the moment, it's the price of fuels. And although this is a longer term project, we've got to get moving. We've got to really get started on these things and try and prove them and get them implemented.
Now, when you're supporting this, Rydal District Council secured £50,000 from the government to help fund a study into the feasibility of geothermal energy. But Rydal District Council won't be with us very much longer. For another next year it's abolished. How do you think, will North Yorkshire County Council be as supportive?
Well, I don't know what their thoughts are at the moment, but I do know that they've got a climate change action plan the same as we have. And I'm quite sure they've got people there, in fact I know they've got people there with exactly the same concerns as we have. Now, the local enterprise partnership were very supportive of this, and that's Yorkshire wide. And so I can only imagine that North Yorkshire will welcome this with open arms, because it's still that move from fossil fuels. And to be honest, it's going to be local councils that are really going to be picking up the pieces from the fuel crisis or the cost of living crisis. They're on the front line, and these sort of initiatives are absolutely essential for that. So I don't know that they've got too much option.
I mean, this is all very pioneering. It'll be, if this goes ahead, it'll be the first in the UK. What would it mean for this area if this does go ahead as proposed?
Well, it's quite interesting that Rydal, that probably nobody's heard of, and we had the slowing the flow natural flood management. We were in the forefront of that, and all sorts of that. I mean, even in the forefront of fracking, although that fell by the wayside, I'm rather pleased to say. But Rydal and the food capital of Yorkshire, and hopefully Pickering is going to be the cycling capital of Yorkshire. We do seem to be rather in the vanguard of things for such a small place.
Thank you very much. That's Rydell District Councillor Mike Potter. And people are being encouraged to have their say. There is a web link to fill in if you want to take part in a survey, and that is rydell.commonplace.is. And so KM8, it's looking for a new future here in Kirby Misperton.
I mean, it's really encouraging, actually. And when we think about climate change, it's probably the way forward, isn't it? Thanks, Mike. Mike Kemp there. He's at the site that was formerly earmarked for fracking in Kirby Misperton, not being looked into as a possible site for energy park that will pioneer new green technology.